Welcome back in, young backpackers. This is Dave, aka Fireball, your professor, on this incredibly free and bits of priceless information in my Backpacking 101 course, the only place where you can learn everything that you need to know about backpacking in a free playlist right here on YouTube. It doesn't get much better than that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Dave, I don't really trust anybody who gives out free information. I don't know how good it is. If that's you and if that's the case, feel free to hit that donation button for about $100 and magically the information will be a lot more useful to you. Welcome back in, young children, to Backpacking 101. We're getting into different kits. We're getting into different specific pieces of gear now. This is the juicy stuff, so let's get right into it. The first one was kind of lame, all right, I'll admit. The last video was about the med kit. Nobody really cares about how to triage a gushing wound from the femoral artery when you're out in the backcountry, right? Oh, it's all right. Oh my God, I almost died. No. That's kind of the nasty stuff. We don't want to think about getting mauled by a tiger. Sorry, Leo DiCaprio. Sorry, no, that was a bear. Oh man, Dave, get your facts right. But nonetheless, let's slide on over into something a little bit more interesting. Again, this is ascending order. It's going to get better over time, but we got to get this other stuff out of the way. I actually like this next one that we're going to be talking about right now, and we're going to be getting into water filtration. Not super sexy, but super important nonetheless. And thinking about the notes for this one, pulling it up over here, clickety-clack on the keyboard, I was thinking, hey, you know what? Me personally, and I think a lot of backpackers out there, when I was thinking about like how many different ways could you actually get safe water to drink, there are actually quite a few if you bring certain pieces of gear with you. Now, I actually counted up to 4 different types that you could use in order to purify your water. Now, I'm going to go from like number 4 up to the most common here. The first one is if you're carrying, which you should be, a pot with you for cooking food or whatnot, and you're also carrying ways to start a fire. Right, like a ferro rod or a fire starter, like the nasty smelling Esbit wax cubes that are made from, you know, dead corpses, over to something like a little bit more smell friendly, like the fire plug that I like to carry, which is like cotton that's dipped in wax, so it's a little bit more waterproof. They're not as reliable as the smelly, dead, rotting carcass of a baleen whale like the Esbit cubes are, but they kind of do the job. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent already, one of many, guys. The first thing that you can do, if you got your fire starter, if you got a way to start a fire, is, and you got your pot, just boil your water. Like number 3 and number 4 here are kind of the same, in that you're using a fire or a heat source to kill off all of the nastiness that can cause giardia and for you to bleed out internally. Now, heating up the water is going to kill everything, and it's also going to make the water taste better. Now, the floating dead carcasses of the protozoa are still going to be in there, but they're going to be inert, so you can kind of suck those down like, you know, it's a free form of some sort of calorie intake. Not really at all. But that's the first thing. Get your pot, get your water. You know, it's not going to be a lot at a time. You know, most likely you're going to carry a somewhat smaller pot, and then chuck it on the fire. Just throw that water right in the fire. It's going to be purified, and then you can take the evaporated air and then suck that down for moisture. No, just kidding. Put your pot near the fire and wait for it to boil, and then you have to wait for it to cool down, so that kind of stinks. This is actually steps 4 through 2 here in your options. Are not preferred because they take a while in order to get your water, but you can still get water. So number 4, put it next to a fire, boil the water, and wait for it to cool down. Number 4 also stinks, and that should be your last resort because your pot might also get kind of trashed doing it that way. You're going to have a heck of a time when you get home with that apple cider vinegar and baking soda trying to scrub off those burnt black smoke swaths all over your titanium or aluminum or stainless steel pot. So that's number 4 for a reason. Number 3 sort of goes along with that heat source. And this is mostly for all of you normal people. I'm not talking about the weirdos that cold soak their food out there. You know who you are. It's weird, guys. Nobody likes cold food. Nobody likes the crotch pot from Gossamer Gear. It's not a good time, okay? Number 3 is going to be your stove method. So if you have an alcohol stove or if you've got a gas canister stove, this is the one for you as well. And it's another form of boiling your water, right? So you get your pot, you fill it with some water, you put it over your stove, you boil it much like you would normally for like a, boil in a bag kind of meal, backpacker meal. We're not talking about gourmet stuff here.
I tell you how it's gonna be. This is Pricks Fix.
Pricks Fix?
That can do the trick as well. Similar to the fire, except you don't have to collect, firewood and sticks and wait for the fire to flame up like Castaway and Tom Hanks, right?
I have made fire!
So this is a little bit more quick. However, what you do need to figure out here is your fuel consumption, right? How much fuel did you bring with you? Can you spare that? But, as far as I know, you can live, and don't check my PhD credentials on this one, but you can live just a little bit longer without food than you can with water. So it's a little bit more important for you to get water here. If you got to use your fuel to boil up some water because you're feeling super dehydrated, maybe that's the route that you want to go instead of, having your 5th meal of mac and cheese when you're out there. Next thing up here, number 2, I actually got this one with me. Feel a little unprepared with my stuff. I actually do have some stuff here, but I'm like, where's my pot, Dave? You should have brought that. I should have built a fire right here on the tabletop for you to describe number 4. But number 2 is going to be these guys right here. Got it up, probably blocking the view. You can't see it. It's glared out with, it's whited out with the light shining directly in my eye. I'm kind of blinded.
Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a douche, another roller in the night.
And that is these things that I don't think I ever used. And these are aqua tabs. Now, this should be your primary numero dos backup. And I'm going to recommend I name dropped. Oh, that's it. That's it. Show's over. I said I wasn't going to name drop here on the channel, and I did it. So I'm sorry if I slipped some in there. Didn't mean to do it. I'm an idiot. But some form of tablet or drops. They have like this mad scientist, part A, part B drops that you can put in there too. This is a little bit easier. You just got to make sure that these don't get wet because your boy, the idiot here.
I was checking the specs on the end line for the rotary girder. I'm retarded.
Ended up storing this with my water filter at one point, and they get wet and they're useless. So make sure you keep these dry. That's why I keep them in the med kit. That's why I showed you in that last video, the med kit. I keep it in there because it's a little bit more waterproof and separated from my main water filtration. So that's a little hot tip, little pro tip for you. Again, free of charge. But yeah, tablets or droplets. Now the deal with these guys is sort of like bleach almost. It's a chemical that you throw in there and again kills all the bacteria and protozoa and ancient fossilized, T-Rex eggs. And what it does is it just makes it inert. Now, it's not like boiling where it's going to enhance the flavor a little bit, kill off some of that nastiness by heating it up. You're going to taste everything. So if it tastes like nasty sweat water, it's still going to taste like that, probably just with a little bit of chemical taste in it now from one of these. However, it's going to be safe for you to drink. But this, I think, still wins as the primary backup just because it's super easy. I don't know if it's 2 tabs for a liter or 1 tab per liter. I don't know. Look up the directions. I don't know how many drops too. I haven't done those dyed Easter eggs in a while, so I don't know how many drops of which color that you need in order to make that work. But always look up the directions. Heck, even try it at home with your tap water and see if you don't get the runs from it. I don't know. Just try it out before you head out there is all I got to say. And then the number one option here, let's get into it, drum roll. It's going to be your normal air filter. Yeah, why not bring a HEPA filter when you're out there as well? Your normal water filter or purifier. Now, I'm going to go over purifier first because I don't own one. Not because I'm too school for cool, but because two main reasons, right? There's two big dings against it. It really depends on where you're living in the world, right? And I got to make sure I do this properly here. Number one, it's because they're usually heavy. Number two, and there's actually a third thing. Number two is because it's more expensive for a purifier. Number three is because it doesn't filter out as many, I guess, liters. It goes by liters, not technically gallons. Some of the squeeze filters here go by gallons, like plenty of gallons, like hundreds of gallons versus like hundreds of liters, which definitely is a difference when you're looking at the overall cost. But the reason why you might want to go with a purifier is because it filters out two main things that it filters out is like heavy metals, and I'm just going to do this right again. Heavy metals, number one, and number two is going to be viruses. Filters don't filter out viruses. So, you know, if you're backpacking near the Ganges River over in India, you might want to bring a filter with you because that stuff's pretty nasty.
Okay, please don't take this the wrong way, but I'd rather swim buck naked across the Ganges with a paper cut on my nipple and die a slow, agonizing death from a viral infection than work with you.
Check your water sources, the number one hot tip, pro tip on this hotline that I can tell you, because you're going to want to make sure that you know what's in the area. If you're hiking on the AT during primetime AT through hiking season, there's a little thing called norovirus that you got to be weary of. So you might want to carry something like a water purifier rather than just your standard filter. Now, the reasons why you want to carry a filter, let's bring these out with my great value bag from 2019 here, still going strong. Reason why you want to go with a squeeze filter. They are cheaper. They, depending on the kind that you get, you're probably going to be able to filter out a lot more gallons. Like I said, gallons versus liters. And they're a lot lighter weight as well. This is the, I'm not going to name drop. This is a popular squeeze filter. I think it's actually in the name. No, it's for this other one here. Squeeze filter. Now, the other thing that I'm going to mention here is the bag that it comes with, as well as some other pro tips. But reason why you want to go for a squeeze filter, again, cheaper, lightweight, and, you know, as backpackers, we tend to overanalyze how many ounces are in our pack.
Because here at Globo Gym, we're better than you, and we know it.
It's just a common trait we are all victims of here. So we're always looking at that. And, you know, I'm in North America. A lot of places that we go to, we don't have to worry about viruses that much. So if you know a certain source isn't super suspicious, then you can get away with just a filter. Now, here's another kit here with another name brand. But what you might get in your kit is some goofy bag like this. You don't want this guy because it's going to break down. It's going to pop at the seams. And it's got a narrow opening. It's just not going to last as long. Instead, and what I would recommend here is to get a more durable bag like this guy here for a couple of reasons. One, like I had just mentioned, it's more durable. And two, it's got two different openings here. This side you can attach your filter to directly. I use this dedicated just for my dirty water bag. And on the other side, you got a wide mouth opening. Slide this off and you can scoop up water a lot easier than just the one narrow opening off of this guy here. Let's talk about the other kinds of water filters. You got the squeeze that I just mentioned. You have a pump style water filter, which is bigger and bulkier, and you got to sit there and pump the thing like you're pumping up your air in your bike tires. There's also a gravity feed, which, you know, these squeeze filters can also be adapted to just, you know, hang, you know, a little string through here and then hang it off of a tree branch or whatever if you want to do the whole gravity thing. I never really got into that. You know, I just don't have the patience. I'm like, I just want to squeeze this thing and go. That sounded weird. But you get the idea. But it comes with, you know, some other kits like that. You know, this is also, I think, the tube for a gravity feed system. So it really depends on like the type of system that you get. Like this connects into here and attaches to the dirty water bag, and you got a little tube going down to filter out your water. But yeah, you're going to want to store it. That's why I have a bag. Store it in another bag. Another good tip here is to make sure that you are back flushing your filter here. So taking some of your clean water out. Don't touch me, I'm sterile.
Don't touch me, I'm sterile.
Sucking it up, putting it into the out hole, I think it goes in the other way, and back flushing it. You want to make sure that you're keeping your filter as clean as possible. It's another pro to these things is that they're easier to back flush and clean than something that either has an open membrane filter or that purifier like I just mentioned. It's a little bit more taxing and difficult, especially in silty and muddy water, to maintain a decent flow rate with that type of system. So you want to make sure that your filter actually works when you're out there. But I would recommend the squeeze filter as numero uno there, unless you are just, you know, backpacking near a cemetery or something and your only water supply is, you know, near some cow trough out in Arizona or something disgusting like that, then you might want to go with more of a purifier, not only from a virus perspective and not wanting to have diarrhea and wishing for death, but also because you want to enhance the flavor of the water. Like some of those water sources, my lord, look absolutely disgusting to try and drink off of. But you're going to want to also shoot for more of like the natural streams, moving water. Like aim for moving water and make sure you're looking ahead and that there isn't like a dead cow or a deer that's upstream with a bunch of turds floating in the water as well.
Jesus Christ.
Right? You want to make sure that it's as clean as you can visually see to try and filter some of that stuff out. Give me a second. It's tough work to be that rambling man. But that's it. I think that's all I got for you on this one for your water kit. Oh, one last thing here I want to talk about is how much water do you need? Now that really depends. This falls into that gray area. I was going to say like my shirt, but I don't, like my hat falls into a gray area here where it really depends on the type of person that you are. Are you a 6'8", 300-pound dude, or are you a 5'2", 110-pound woman, right? Are you camping in the desert where you're going to need upwards of somewhere near a gallon of water a day, which is about 9 pounds of water a day? Or are you going to be in a green tunnel with cool temps where you don't have to consume that much water because you're not doing that many miles as well? All depends on who you are, how thick of a sweater, like you're thick of a sweater, yeah, sweater, not a sweater that you wear, but like sweating as profusely like I am in this video.
Jesus Christ, is it hot?
Really depends on that as well. But I usually like to aim for at least having a couple of liters with me at a time, depending on how many miles that I'm going throughout the day. A dirty bag like this is somewhere around 2 liters. I also recommend having at least a capacity of somewhere near a gallon for those longer stretches, especially if it's a dry section or you can't find water. You might need upwards of 4 to 5 liters, which is right around that gallon or a little bit over. I usually carry a capacity of about a gallon, but at any given stretch, usually somewhere around 2 liters if I know where the next water source is. That's just a general, rule of thumb. Don't take that as, oh my God, Dave told me that I needed 2 liters, but I'm on a 30-mile stretch in the desert and I ran out after mile 2 and now I'm going to die in the desert. Don't take my word for it. You obviously are going to be a lot more in tune with your water hydration needs. It's all about making sure you know where the water sources are. But that's it on this one. Super long, so sorry, not sorry. I said I was going to stop apologizing for that. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll check you in the next video where I'm going to be wearing the exact same thing and drinking out of the same can. See you on the next one. Oh, yeah. That's the stuff right there.